in terms of excess, let's talk about Chris Christie.
Excess what, you say?
Well, just excessive corruption, as far as I can tell.
Okay. Yep.
This week we had a couple of news stories that broke. And like I say, there's two
Aren't
different.
there every week? It's pretty excellent.
Yes, it is actually quite fun. There are two tracks here. There is the political track, like what does all of this do to Chris Christie, and what is happening politically to Chris Christie, and then there's the how close are we to seeing him frog marched track. Let's take the first track. I mean the second track rather, the frog march track. There was a story that came out this week that Chris Christie's brother Todd Christie and two of Todd Christie's partners have bought and sold a handful of properties within walking distance of a PATH station in Harrison, New Jersey. The PATH train is like a light commuter rail between New Jersey and New York. That is almost like a subway. I mean, in some respects, but it goes further out.
Right.
And obviously, if the PATH train has a good station, that property values goes up because it gets people into New York. It becomes a commuting suburb for New York. And, Chris Christie's brother seems to be a real estate genius because he and his partners, and one of his partners is the owner of Ferrara Construction, a large firm that has done tens of millions of dollars of work for state agencies since Chris Christie took office.
It's like he knows the most talented people in the world.
It's unbelievable. These guys are so good at business. And Chris Christie's brother and his partners, one of whom has just somehow stepped up to the plate and gotten like 10, 12, $15 million worth of business from the state, they bought a bunch of properties in Harrison. And then lo and behold, within 12 months, the Port Authority, you'll recall the Port Authority, this is what was basically this massive slush fund it appears to be for the Christie administration and his cronies. The Port Authority
the
decides...
Port Authority is Chris Christie's son, essentially. It is the sun for him, where everything rises, and I mean, seriously, everything that comes out of that place is corrupt. It's pretty funny.
The Port Authority decides to spend $250 million in a renovation on the Harrison PATH station. I should say, to be fair, $256 million. What a stroke of genius it was of Chris Christie's brother to buy that land because it tripled and quadrupled in value in the course of 12 months.
I mean, does this guy ever play the lotto? Because he's good.
Yeah, he's a good businessman. And what's also apparently, according to the New Jersey record, or the Bergen County record, I guess it is, the renovation came into focus this week when the record reported that the Port Authority chairman, David Sampson, this is Chris Christie's consigliere, who, as we know, has been subpoenaed by, at the very least, the legislative committee that is looking into this, but probably also the the Assistant USA in New Jersey, the Justice Department, that David Sampson also had private ties to the land around the Harrison station. And as chairman of the Port Authority, he voted to approve the Harrison station overhaul. Months after a client of his law firm proposed converting a nearby warehouse into luxury apartments. So in other words, it's like, let's get everybody we know to invest in this area around here, and then boom, what do you know? It's as if
it's amazing this guy got as far as he did.
It's transcendental meditation.
That is a story about our times and about the media. This guy is so freaking corrupt.
Ugh.
So corrupt. Not even normal Republican or even sometimes Democratic corrupt. But, not $90,000 in the freezer corrupt, right?
It's like, I have to say, New Jersey seems to be like...
Every political decision he does,
yeah.
It seems somebody benefits. There were stories about this when he was a U.S. attorney.
Yep.
He only got that position by the end of his fundraising
right.
for Bush,
Yep.
not because he had a clue what he was doing. There were enough stories then about how he was the guy who most routinely overspent the amount of money they gave them to stay at luxury hotels and all sorts of crap. Nobody wanted to talk about any of this because he's cool and he talks like one of us and he knows what he got to this position. And even the 4 years he was, look at all these stories. Look at them from Jersey City to Hoboken to, and the New York Times story that came out, which said that literally, obviously this guy didn't know what his staff was doing because he was only micromanaging like 100 different little sort of swing cities and areas. They had marked down, they were calling mini Floridas and mini Ohio's.
Yeah.
That was hugely important for him to win big so he could make the argument he could do that across the country. And he was doing that with, Bridget Kelly and all these other people. But no, he didn't know what they were doing, obviously. Everything was about his two things: enriching everybody around him and becoming president. Every decision he made. And anybody that crossed him on either of those things was to be threatened, was to be kicked around. Christie, Grimm, and Giuliani should start like a new mob family.